Wayside is just a place of no judgment, and you're always accepted. Whatever condition you happen to turn up in, there's just acceptance here, and usually a kind word from a volunteer or the staff that work here. I'll be sitting behind the desk and somebody will come in who's been living on the street for some time. They will tell me how hard they're doing it, and I might say, I know what it's like. How would you know what it's like? Have a look at you, you're wearing clean clothes. You wouldn't know what it's like. But I lived it, so I do know what it's like, and I know what it's like to be ignored by people because you're homeless. I know what it's like to be judged because you're lost in addiction. It hurts.
I think it's impossible to get your head around the Andrew story in 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 settings. It's so complex that it's got to come out step by step. I've seen him have a difficult journey. He's come from a very difficult place.
I became a teenage alcoholic and a drug addict, and as I've grown up, I've realised that perhaps my childhood wasn't so good, otherwise I wouldn't have tried to destroy myself.
And a lot of things have gone wrong in his life, and so he has held himself accountable for a lot of things for which he was not the cause.
It all sort of happened slowly, really. Started drinking at 11. Same time I started smoking cigarettes. Fairly rapidly got into trouble with it. Once I started to drink, I was unable to stop, and I ended up on the street, really, nowhere to go. I just wanted the pain to stop, and I thought their way out was suicide. The scary thing is that in a moment of insanity I could act on that thinking. I'd had a really long night. In the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, I was standing on a footbridge down at near St Canice's, standing above the westbound lanes, facing west because I didn't want to see the face of the driver as I jumped in front of his truck. And there was one of the local residents came up onto the footbridge, and she didn't see a homeless bum, she saw a human being in distress, asked me if I was okay, and for some reason I admitted that I wasn't okay, and she then walked me up to St Vincent's Hospital and sat with me for 3 hours waiting for the doctor, and it was through that meeting with the doctor that I got on methadone and got clean. I used to sell the Big Issue down the road from here, and Graham used to buy the magazine off me every fortnight without fail. And I think it was the commitment that I'd shown from turning up to sell the Big Issue that made the people look at me to perhaps come and work here.
One of the things that made me know Andrew was on his way was his driving question moved from "what can you give me" to "how can I help?" And so he's been keen to help in any way he can. So he became a volunteer. Eventually he's baking for us. He's just keen to make a contribution.
Andrew's passion comes from how much pleasure people get from his baking. People's reaction who know who he was before, who knew him then, and can see him now and the beautiful things that he can make and makes every day. I think that is his passion, is making other people happy.
Through volunteering here, I became friends with some of the staff here, and also I attend the church here on a Sunday.
He has actually a very sparkling intellect. He can get his head around very complex things, and he can articulate in a beautiful, clear way.
I love coming to church here because I've learned that salvation comes through the feet, through where I go and what I do, not through what I say.
So what he had to say when he preached was actually quite stunning and quite clear and beautifully thought through. But that's not what bowled everybody over. What bowled everybody over was Andrew's heart. It just oozes out the pores of his skin.
Wayside has pretty much taught me how to love again. Wayside is loving me back to life, really.
I said to Guy before we started, there's nobody coming, nobody's going to turn up. How wrong I was.
We always say that.
The angels flock together.
Graham came to me one day and said, we can make an appointment for you to go to the dentist because somebody donated the money for you to get your teeth fixed. I spent the last 20 years extracting my own teeth, so I didn't have a dentist, you know. He said, do home dentistry, which I bet, you know, lots of people can relate to that because it's not easy to get to a dentist when you've got no money. It just blew me away that somebody considered that I was worth that. And now I see I am worth it, and through that act of kindness.
He's moving from that dark corner to this light, free place, and it's just a hoot to watch it happen because you can watch the burden drop off his shoulders.
The congregation was keen to have a barista to make coffee for people on a Sunday. I was interviewed for the job and I got it. And now I'm here at Wayside 20 hours a week as a barista slash baker slash vegetable chopper, whatever the boss wants me to do within reason.
He's become much more active in the direction that the cafe could and should go in. Now he's really thinking ahead and really has confidence in who he is and his role in the kitchen.
When I first started doing it, I didn't have a clue. I was slow and I made a big mess, and now I'm getting better at it. I don't spill stuff all over myself anymore.
So I think the journey that I've seen from Andrew is that he's stepped out of this self-condemning journey into a atmosphere of community where he's one of many, and the others are his brothers and sisters, and that responsibility for stuff is shared and the challenge of stuff is shared.
I don't have any money. It seems I'll never have any money. I feel rich, and I'm rich that I've got people that I can rely on, and people that rely on me. I'm rich because I'm a useful member of society. That makes me rich, really rich. So Wayside is my family, my brothers and sisters. Thank you to Wayside staff and volunteers for everything that they do and for who they are. Just awesome people.